This stuff is good. Stuff is really good for the Democrats. Over 888,000 donors in the past 24 hours. 60% are first-time donors. 43% new recurring donors. Kamala HQ doubled his following overnight. Game on. They raised $81 million in the first 24 hours. That's incredibly impressive. The people were basically desperate, begging for anyone but Joe. Oh, AP delegate survey has Kamala on the way to presumptive nominee by the end of the night, possibly. Yeah, Kamala Harris has already crossed the 50% threshold for all delegates needed, and she's even gone far beyond that, actually. She's at 1,500. She needs 1,900 for the nomination. She will most likely have it by tonight, which is expected. I know we discussed this yesterday, but with Kamala's voting record, why aren't we more excited about that? Because Kamala Harris was a senator in California at a time when Donald Trump was president. So what a lot of green senators, especially, depending on how they want to present themselves, will make like bold proclamations, will sometimes even take like radical positions because they know it's never going to pass. That's why I didn't place a lot of emphasis on her track record when she was running against Bernie Sanders as well. That's a classic thing that Democrats do. Very different dynamic, if you notice, when the Democrats have the majority in the Senate and the House, and also simultaneously the White House. If you recall, the politicking, the dynamic changes quite a bit, almost like they do a complete reversal on their prior ideological disposition. That's what it is. Having said that, however, it's still decent that she was trying to present herself as a progressive instead of not. This was being sold at the RNC. All of us had better buckle up. The stuff they said about Hillary in 2016 or what they've been saying about the Democrats in the Biden era will be nothing compared to what will come next. I say bring it on. Why? Because Hillary Clinton did not lose because she was a woman and they did like so many misogynistic attacks. When you're a woman, especially if you're a black woman, yes, you have a harder battle to fight. Hillary Clinton lost because she was a political operative with a last name that was hated for decades at that point. Okay? So much opposition research, so much anti-Clinton sentiment was a permanent plank in the Republican Party. And Hillary Clinton, despite all of that, still won the popular vote, by the way. The reality of the matter is, this is now a race that Kamala Harris could potentially win. Teamsters invite Harris to rank and file presidential roundtable. Today, the Teamsters Union officially invited Vice President Kamala Harris to sit down with a rank and file Teamsters for a member roundtable following the recent announcement of a candidacy for U.S. President. President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, independents, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Cornel West, and all other major candidates for president participated in historic Teamsters rank and file roundtables between December 2023 and March 2024. The Teamsters look forward to welcoming Vice President Kamala Harris to International Union headquarters in the near future to meet with our members directly, said Teamsters General President Sean O'Brien. As we have said throughout this process, our members' voices must be heard at all levels of our government to ensure the needs of working people are put first. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters has not issued any endorsement for a U.S. president. For those of you who don't know, that's exactly how Sean O'Brien sounds. Completely given up on being normal and appealing to normal people. It's time for Republicans to start talking about Kamala Harris' sexual history and the reason why she likely doesn't have any children of her own. I'm willing to bet she's had so many abortions that she damaged her uterus. A woman who has no biological children of her own should not be allowed to make decisions in the White House for your children. Republicans need to run with this messaging and ask why a woman... Dude, this is why I think it's ridiculous when people are like, there's misinformation spreading online. Young conservatives like Laura Loomer say this kind of... When you ask me what I think in terms of my analysis, in terms of like what the Democrats should run with, I'm like, perhaps it's best to counter the Republican narratives on immigrant crime specifically because it's not reflected in any real empirical evidence, any data whatsoever, instead of leaning into that crime hysteria. That's the difference between someone like Laura Loomer and someone like myself. Laura Loomer's like, yeah, actually, Kamala Harris don't work. We need to investigate her womb right now. Birtherism. Can she give birth? This dynamic is specifically why I despise like the hyper-centrists, okay? The centrists who are like, both sides have really bad issues. It's like, what do you mean, man? My most radical prospect is like what I consider to be appropriate in the current time frame is like healthcare for all, okay? Yeah, I want to give everybody healthcare, including the Nazis. That is radical to some, I know. Their most radical position is like, we need to look at Kamala Harris's right now. That needs to literally be driving the conversation. I need to see her womb. Republicans need to run with this message and ask why a woman with no kids of her own and just a scarred up uterus is so obsessed with wanting to your babies. Kamala has zero investment in the future, but she wants to determine our future. Biden stepping aside as nominee makes you 39% more motivated to vote. 49% does not change your motivation. Is this for the youth vote or not? 6% less motivated to vote. Wow. Yeah. Does not change means both. It's them registered voters. Does not change means both. It means like people who were not going to vote are not going to vote. People who were going to vote are still the same. Like it didn't change their motivation because they were going to vote anyway. 6% less motivated to vote. We found the Biden dead enders, dude. We found the Biden or busters, baby. I was looking for these motherfuckers. Turns out they voted on this poll, dude. 6%, baby. 6% is everything. Nation's Democrats are reacting positively to Biden's decision to step aside. Biden stepping aside as nominee. Out of Democratic registered voters, 83% approval, 17% disapproval. If Biden had that approval-disapproval rating right now, we would not be having this question. We would not even have this conversation. Bro, I don't think Americans have ever approved something 83%. Abortion protection, universal background checks for firearms. Here, let's keep doing more. Republicans are losing their minds, okay? I've received multiple emails like this one confirming many elements of the story. Many have confirmed that a call went out to block streets to get Biden to University Medical Trauma Center ASAP, and then that plan abruptly changed and they got him out on Air Force One very quickly. I have not confirmed the IDs of these people, but there are an overwhelming number of stories corroborating essentially the same account that I felt comfortable sharing. I have people diving deeper into this now. Your info is solid. I retired from Las Vegas Metro. My source texted me just now. We were making plans to go to UMC Trauma first. Called in the box squads to come help shut down the route. Then it changed to taking him to the airport. He was on the plan fast and took off faster than I've ever seen Air Force One leave the airport. They're saying Biden died, which is so funny because you see him get out of the plane and like have a hard time getting into the car. That's awesome. God, I love Republicans so much.
It would be wrong and I think unlawful in accordance to some of these states' rules for a handful of people to go in a back room.
Is that how that works? Does Mike Johnson care about the Democratic primary and the Democratic Party's wishes? That's so funny. This is just tears, okay? This is just tears. You're literally a crystal fascist. Shut the up. You don't give a about democracy, and also hilarious that you're over here being like, I'm quite concerned about what this says about the democratic process in the Democratic Party's primaries. Who are you talking to? Who are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach the Biden or busters? They do not exist. People that went into the Democratic Party's primaries and voted for Joe Biden are the most deep blue loyalists you've ever seen. Not a single one of those votes will not be cast for whoever the is on the ticket. This is not like Bernie Sanders. Even with Bernie Sanders, there wasn't a significant percentage of Bernie voters who busted and refused to vote for Hillary Clinton, even though the media constantly framed it as such. But these guys are not even going to be that percentage, okay? I do not know a single, and I do not believe, even if there was like one guy on Twitter or something, I just don't believe, and you will never get me to believe, that there is a significant percentage of Biden or busters out there that are like, oh, Kamala Harris? No, I'm not voting. Wait, are you pro-Harris? Is she the best choice for you? No, of course she's not the best choice for me. But I wear multiple different hats. Sometimes I wear a Trump hat. Sometimes I wear a Democratic Party analyst hat. Sometimes I wear an elections analyst hat. A lot of times when I talk about like how a candidate is viewed by the broader electorate, like with Joe Biden, I made it known that my own personal opinion was irrelevant in terms of Joe Biden's reelection chances because my own personal choice in the matter was that I was not going to vote for Joe Biden. And I said it pretty publicly. It is something that I've never said before in any of the elections that I've covered since 2016. I've never been like, I'm not voting, 100% I'm not voting 10 toes down for whoever the Democratic candidate is. Joe Biden was the first time that I ever said that. Even then, when I talked about Joe Biden having to be swapped out, it wasn't just for my own personal hatred for Joe Biden's policies on Gaza. It also was a broader analysis on the way that like the public, the voting public, the voter eligible public viewed him. Do you see what I'm saying? What is this?
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday.
This is a really bad narrative. This sucks. This is so 2016 coded. Yeah, good luck, dude. Good luck, guys. Joe Biden was president for the past 4 years. I don't know if you know that. He is literally racist. Joe Biden, the Barack Obama administration's hand-selected candidate for vice presidency, was hand-selected because he had a track record of being kind of racist and routinely making off-color remarks, okay?
Yesterday. And one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too. But
I'm going to tell you something, okay? If drinking Diet Mountain Dew is racist, I'm a Klans member. Ain't nobody's out here saying drinking Diet Mountain Dew is racist. Like, the f do you mean? What a dumb argument. You can't whip up this kind of narrative, dude. You can't do that.
it's good. I love you guys.
Oh, no aura, no aura, zero aura, minus 1,000 aura points. This is worse than Kamala Harris. This reads worse than Kamala Harris. I'll say it. Some reports that they're regretting picking Vance. Oh, you think? I mean, yeah, duh. This is JD Vance's basket of deplorables moment. Mark my word. They won't be stupid enough to go for a transvestigation against Kamala. I hope they are. I hope they transvestigate Kamala Harris. That's awesome. One, that's funny and it's content. And two, that kind of mania is exactly what they're going along with right now. And that's kind of the reason why 2022 was a dud. Like, they f- themselves over by being insane on the timeline, okay? Anytime they do that, anytime they like go, oh, Kamala Harris is actually a secret man or whatever, you're losing voters in the suburbs, man. You just look insane. You're losing the normal vote, the normal voters. It's awesome. It's great. JD Vance is doing that too, by the way. Here, put this under the Republicans want to destroy democracy category. Here it is.
Fight! 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 We got time. Come on. Hey, we are in the fight for the soul of our nation. We are in a fight for our kids and our grandkids, a fight that we can never imagine. I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind.
Yeah. No, keep doing that, man. That's awesome. Keep this energy, please. This is such a L. It's so awesome. No. This is great because they can't help themselves. Republicans cannot help themselves. They've grown far too comfortable in their violent narratives. They literally help themselves. This is a time where the Republican Party is supposed to angle towards the moderates. This is a time where they're supposed to change their narrative. I was a little worried for a brief moment when Donald Trump said, oh, after I got shot, changed. I'm going to be the unity guy now. I was a little worried for a brief moment, and then I remembered that Republicans can't help themselves, okay? They are far too invested, far too comfortable. They just cannot help themselves. This is like the culture war button. They just got to keep hitting it. They got to keep hitting it over and over and over again, harder than I hit the top of the hour ad break button at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break.
And we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Damn! Motherfucker on the phone. He's like, don't you be talking now.
Acknowledge some extraordinary national leaders who are also dear friends, both to the president and to me. Governor John Carney, where are you? There you are. And his wife, they are
Damn,
here.
look at her
Senator
pointing to
Tom
people,
Carper,
remembering their names, not for speech.
Here, Chris Coons,
How
my dear
refreshing.
friend. And you're giving yourselves to our country because you love our country. And
Joe's listening on the other side like, you are clapping a little too hard, okay?
And so, like him, who has said for many, many, many months, and I say it today, thank you all so very much for what
Say
you
thank
are
you,
doing
thank you.
and what you will continue to do. And help them see what they may have in common and how we can actually work towards solutions. And because of their confidence in Joe, these accomplishments occurred. Joe has stood up for democracy at home, and he has stood
This should
up
be the
for
last day she
democracy
defends Joe
abroad.
Biden.
And he has always
She has to do this
stood
year because it's like
for
the
what he
campaign
believes is
changing,
right.
campaign headquarters.
And many of you
And its
may
campaign
know,
is
I
changing
first
hands.
came together
This
as
is the
state
last
attorney
day, okay?
And back then,
Never
Bo
again.
would often trickle down policies that gave huge tax breaks.
My controversial opinion is that this is Rizless. Okay, this is Rizless. It needs to be better than this. This won't take it across the
No, it
finish
should be.
line. Saying she's Rizless is giving women aren't funny. Like, I don't know, she's just not selling it, bro. What do you even mean? What do you mean? She's saying the damn thing. I think you understand exactly what I mean. Like, yeah, saying the lines doesn't carry across the finish line. Just simply saying the lines didn't help Hillary Clinton get across the finish line either. Yeah, no, but you're right. I am, of course, misogynistic, and that's why I'm saying it. Oh, I mean, it's still better than Biden because she's objectively not dying. So there's that. But it's certainly not impressive enough because while Donald Trump is a very unpopular candidate, a very weak candidate, okay? Kamala Harris, in order to captivate a lot of the voters that have left and has done a decent job by just simply not being 800 years old so far, is going to have to do a little bit more than just saying the lines. Any hope for Kamala being better on Gaza? I think so, but we shall see. I don't think she can like cut across Joe Biden too much. Like I said, it's a bit of a tricky situation. She's definitely not going to do it when Joe Biden is on the call and she's at the campaign headquarters, right? Like, she's not going to do that. It will be rather difficult for her to cut against Joe Biden on issues where Joe Biden is weak or was weak. Scahill actually scrutinized their record. Harris abetted the Gaza war even if she expressed moral unease, tactical disagreement. While she does not have half a century of overwhelming support for Israel's brutality and militarism like Biden, she does have a record of hardline support for Israel. Like, what I'm looking for in this situation, is she going to be... Obama was another guy, by the way, critical of Israel. And then on his way out, he gave $38 billion to Israel. That's after Netanyahu called him boy, basically, over and over again. Netanyahu famously said Barack Obama was a young boy who didn't know anything about the Middle East. I think her opinion on Gaza will be very important for the youth vote. That's number one, even though I think she will pick up a lot more support from younger voters just by being not Joe Biden. That's number one. Having said that, is that enough to carry her across the finish line? I'm not so certain. Harris plans private meeting with Netanyahu as she skips congressional address. The vice president was scheduled to attend an event for a Zeta Phi Beta sorority in Indianapolis before the Israeli prime minister's address date was sent. She's not going to be there for Bibi's joint address to Congress, but will conduct a separate bilateral meeting with the Israeli prime minister this week at the White House. Harris was scheduled to attend an event for her sorority. That doesn't really mean much. Like, that's something you can totally say you're not going to if you thought it was important enough for you to put yourself out there as someone who is in support of Benjamin Netanyahu. Why is Bibi speaking to Congress? Because I think they just want like 100% of Americans to believe in anti-Semitic conspiracies. That's got to be the reason. I can't think of any good reason why a war criminal in the eve of this ICJ decision coming down, declaring Israel to be an apartheid state, okay? Something that pretty much every NGO, every human rights organization agrees on, including Israeli human rights organizations. It's completely ridiculous. You have upcoming ICC arrest warrants. The ICJ just said Israel has to immediately evacuate the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and that they are there in an unjust manner. They're violating international law. They're violating international humanitarian law. And America's like, nah, we're riding with Netanyahu, baby. He's great. Do I have confidence in Kamala Harris as far as like changing the course, changing the trajectory of like 76 years of American foreign policy? No, she absolutely is not the person that would do such a thing. But we shall see. In her one-on-one meeting with Netanyahu, Harris plans to reiterate her commitment to Israel's security and right to defend itself, but will also convey her view that it is time for the war to end in a way where Israel is secure, all hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinian civilians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can enjoy their right to dignity, freedom, and self-determination. Harris also plans to discuss the ongoing negotiations on a ceasefire deal. There's some daylight between Harris and Biden on the issue of Israel and Gaza for months. Since the beginning of the war, Harris has been telling colleagues in the administration, including Biden, that she wants the White House to show more concern publicly for the humanitarian damage in Gaza. This at least shows that she has the right political instincts, even if she does not morally care about apartheid and genocide, which is, better than Joe, I guess. Not saying much. One person close to the vice president's office says she believes the United States should be tougher on Netanyahu. She called for being more forceful at seeking a long-term peace deal and a two-state solution. Senate President pro tempore Patty Murray, who would have been next in line to the president over Netanyahu's joint address, declined to do so, according to a spokesperson. The person also told Politico the senator won't be attending the address at all. A growing number of congressional Democrats are boycotting the event. Every Democrat should boycott this event. It is ridiculous. Senator Ben Cardin will instead be the senator behind Netanyahu on Wednesday, according to a person familiar with the plans who was granted anonymity to discuss private conversations. Meanwhile, Capitol Police officials have warned lawmakers and staff about the protesters in the days leading up to the visit from Netanyahu. There will be increased security around the Capitol complex, especially Wednesday when Netanyahu is scheduled to speak. It would look really bad for the Biden administration and for the Democrats. While they are in office, they beat the living dog out of protesters at the behest of a foreign leader who is doing a genocide that we are defending, okay, when the rest of the international community damn near made up their minds on the issue.